Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Man, I am like crazy excited tonight because I've got so much family on with us, Sharice, and we're excited. Sharice, this is our second week doing it like this, so we got to create like an intro, like a yeah, how we come on. So Sharice, okay, let me try this. Da, 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 da. Welcome to come on. Welcome to okay, YA movement nightcap. Okay,
Yeah, that's
there
it.
it is right there. Um, First of all, welcome everybody. We are like crazy excited about tonight. So we want everybody
Absolutely.
to share, because we want to make sure that everybody is involved and engaged. Tonight, we are going to approach this thing of the PK, but it's not going to be this typical conversation about PK. I'm a PK, and but I think it's deeper than that. And so, Sharice, why don't you kind of kick us off by having all of our guests introduce themselves tonight, and then you can just kind of get us started. I'm following your lead tonight.
Absolutely. So, guys, welcome to Nightcap. I am so excited that you guys have taken the opportunity to join us. Again, I am Dr. Sharice Nicole, and so let's just get it started. If you guys can introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about who you are and possibly and who your parents are. We'll start at the very top. We'll start with Alexis and Claude.
All right, I'm Claude, and
I'm Alexis Cheatham.
all right, and we're the Cheathams. We are oh yeah, we passed at Bethel Winter Park, and to the top left is our family, my in love, Pop and Alexis.
And the parents, the
Right.
children of the guns. So there we are.
Okay, I think I'm next on the lineup. Hey everybody, my name is Deja Guns, and I am the daughter of Bishop Guns, sister of Alexis and Claude too. So yeah, that's me.
Is it my
LJ.
turn? I'll go next.
Okay.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Che. Uh, my parents are Bishop Brian Moore and Jametta Moore. Yeah, that's it.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Leofric Thomas Jr., formerly or not formerly, always known as LJ Thomas, and I'm the the son of Bishop Leofric Thomas and Lady Sandy Thomas at the Open Arms Community Church in Jacksonville.
Yes. Hey, Sharice, what do you want to ask these PKs? What's like the first question? Something provocative, something that will start social media going crazy with all this foolishness going on around the country.
Ooh.
What's the first
Yeah.
question you want to ask?
Oh God, man, I have so many, but I want to start with. Let's just go straight to it. I want to start with the misconceptions. One of the misconceptions that PKs have, and this is something like major, is that the daughters tend to be promiscuous and the boys tend to be whoremongers in the church. I know that's not the case for my bishop's daughter because I know her and the other one. But I mean, let's talk about that because oftentimes this is what is said. Is that true? How do you all feel about that?
I guess I'll go first. I guess I never really separated the two, like PK from your average human being, because I look at it as we're human. We're gonna do what other humans do. So my thing has always been a PK's mistake is not more intense than a regular human being's mistake because of human. So I never really separated the two. Like PKs seem to be more promiscuous. Well, why are we labeling it as PKs? Is it because that we're more upfront than others? I get that, but in a sense, we still have to see and recognize that these PKs are still human. They're gonna make mistakes. That's not an excuse. It's just saying that they have room to make mistakes as well.
I could definitely
Anybody else
attest
want
to
to
the
chime
whole
in?
Oh yes. um, being a college student and being known as Bishop Guns' daughter, um, my dad is definitely known around the country. So there are a lot of people on my campus that know who my dad is, and they see me and they see how chill and calm I am, and they're like, "You sure? Like your daddy a preacher?" And I'm like, "I'm positive. Like I live in the house with him. Like I'm sure." And it's like they just be like, "Oh, you're just so chill and so calm." And it's like you're not wow. No, like, and I think that comes from a lot of it has to do with TV shows and what kind of social media kind of makes it seem, because people often feel like we are so like sheltered and we get out and we get to college and we wild out, and that's where that comes from. They think we're so sheltered, almost like we're almost like nuns. That's I've heard that a lot. They think of it as nuns and being in like a home with a whole bunch of nuns and you have to cover up everything, and it's like, no, that's not the case. So that's like a huge misconception, and I've even dealt with it even in high school, not just in college. And it's just all about, who your parents are. So luckily I'm blessed to have a dad who's not like hard, but you're still practicing what's right as far
Yeah,
as our religion and things of that nature.
absolutely.
So yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Anybody else want to chime in?
Me. So I definitely agree, especially as someone that kind of like I had my little moment of almost getting that label because of course everybody know I had out of wedlock. So that was like the first thing that people were ready to jump about and say like oh, I knew Bishop's daughter was loose and da 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 da. And I think just simply because our mistakes, our sins, our decisions, our days, our good days, our bad days, it's on the platform. So there's never a moment where, like, if we're having a bad day and we come in church, everybody's immediately looking to see what we looking like, how we feeling. So I definitely say it's a misconception because it's not that we're on a different level than anyone else. It's just everything about our life is a lot more public than others, than those members that come in and they're sit in the balcony with them. Well, most of us come in and we sit somewhere where everybody can see us, they're looking at us, or a whole bunch of people following us on social media because of the last name, all of that stuff. So I think it's just really about just everybody just kind of makes it like, oh, that's Bishop daughter. Da, 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 da. Yeah, Bishop daughter, but I'm also a regular 20-year-old that's gonna do this, make mistakes, do crazy stuff,
Absolutely.
have my days of slipping up, figure it out. And it's not any different from your 20-year-old child that did the same thing, but didn't nobody know about it. So it's just that whole, it's just our life is just a stage, really. Our life just becomes this stage. And so it's kind of like when we have a moment or messing up and everybody finds out about it, it's like this whole big shebang. But when the janitor child do it, it's just like, oh well, we gonna pray for them and keep them lifted. But Bishop daughter do it, we got to have healing and deliverance. We got to have a church meeting, then the people got to vote about it. It just be too much.
Chandler chimed in
Can
talking
I
about
want
preach.
to hear from some of the guys?
Well, I'll be the first to
So
say that I number one, I'm sorry, can y'all hear me? We good? I'll be the first to say that I appreciate
yes,
Open Arms for always treating me like I was a regular child. The misconceptions never came from inside my church. They always came from the outside. So My father always made it known that we are regular kids. We're going to mess up. We're going to have fun. I'm still that PK where after Bible study we went and played in the parking lot with the football. All of the boys out there. I'm still that same PK that got caught in church messing around with my cousin, got called to the front row. And at the end of the day, that's the same thing any other parent would do with their child if they would sit on the back row. You get caught playing, all right, come sit with me. It just so happened my mom and dad sat on the front row and my daddy was up preaching. So it's no different from anybody else. I was chastised the same way. I was treated the same way. But the misconceptions always came from the outside, the crazy stuff. I mean, the most exaggerated stuff. You came with your new shoes on. Your daddy stole the offering money. Like what is this? Where does this come from? That this type of this you make
right.
So it was always from the outside that people who never probably even stepped inside a church trying to say, hey, the PK do this, PK do that. That's where the misconceptions came at from me, more so than inside of church.
Right. I think that's interesting because inside of the church is a family. So we know it's almost like we're raising, and in a sense, I'm gonna say this, metaphorically speaking, it's almost like we're raising the children or the pastor's children. So we pretty much kind of know them. But here is a question that I think is so fascinating. You're when you are a PK, okay, you're chosen. It's like God chose you for this position. He handpicked you, right? And because he handpicked you, he used a different type of formula to create you. Like, you got to withstand fire. So, but oftentimes PKs tend to rebel. There's a season where, like, you guys make up in your mind you're gonna do what you want to do during whatever everybody else has to say. Why do you all make that decision to rebel? What happens, what turns on, and you guys say, you know what, bump it, I'm gonna do what I want to do.
I definitely think sorry, go ahead. You're fine. Okay. Mine's real quick. I definitely think it's just a part of wanting to be like everyone else, especially being in this millennial age. You see a lot of people, although it's not always the best choices, you just see a lot of people just making choices that you can't really make because the spotlight is on you. So it's more of just a feeling of, I want to see how that feels. I want to see what it's like to do that and not be able to be seen, when reality is it's never going to be hidden. But it's just that feeling of, I want to be like everyone else. So.
Wow.
I'll probably piggyback on what Deja says, and I can't speak to it from the perspective of a PK or from a pastoral PK. My dad was a staff pastor, but I can say as a young preacher and now a young pastor, I think the rebellion phase kind of comes in because of the pressure. It's the pressure to do it right, or the pressure of managing, everything attached to it. Whether that be, for the PK, your family, whether it be for the young preacher, your ministry, all of that. It's the pressure of saying, okay, you're not going to do it right, but it's like you're trying to give your best effort to do it right, but it's still going to be judged along the way. So I would probably say the rebellion or the rebellious phase for me came, with the pressure and not wanting to manage all of that.
And I don't even think I would call it the rebellious phase for me. It was my free phase. I was finally free. And when I got I didn't get to that phase until I got to college at Bethune-Cookman. and no one knew who my daddy was.
All of us.
Wow.
So as soon as I found out nobody knew who my daddy was, oh, it's on and popping. It's on and popping. And we're gonna try any and everything. Not everything, but you're gonna go out and you're gonna have fun. And for the first little bit, your conviction hitting like, all right, I feel like somebody around here, somebody looking, somebody gonna know something. But after you find out nobody knows anything, it's not really rebellion. I never was that teen to go to plush or the cartouche on those teen club nights. It was never me. So when I finally got my first taste of it, it's like, man, I'm really free to do this stuff. So I think that's what it was.
Wow.
I was more so free to do it versus a rebellion, because at home, you're not gonna go to that club or you're not gonna do this. We don't know what's out there. We're sheltering you because at home I'm responsible for you, but away you're responsible for you to do what you do. So I think that's what it was for me. Just to be able to be free to do and make your own decisions versus rebellion.
I agree. I agree with that.
Wow. Anybody else want to chime in?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So I
Goodman
think
days was lit.
there's a part. There's a part. When we become adults, right, and we have to make our own decision to love God for ourselves, right? So when did you all decide to live for Christ for yourself instead of living for Christ for your parents?
I guess I'll go first since I didn't speak on the last thing. But to be completely honest, I think it's happening now for me. Just probably recently, probably about a year ago, was when I was like, hold on, wait, do I know the God for do I know God for myself, or do I know the God of my parents? Like, do I know him because of my parents? And so like a year ago, I discovered that that's what it was. And I was able to heighten my relationship with God and like get closer with him and more
Right.
familiar with him. So yeah.
Did you find that being away from your parents helped you develop your relationship with Christ?
Well, to be honest, I was Velcro to my parents for most of my life. Never sheltered. I just always wanted to be under them. I never was that kid that wanted to go to other people's house. I never was that child. So I was always very like close to my parents, which is why people would tell I do not play about them. But yeah, so once I finally got away, which was probably like a year and a half ago, I moved to Atlanta. Really was when that kicked in, and I was like, wait, I don't really know God for myself because I was away from them, and so I really didn't have anything to pull on. So
Wow.
that time alone really made my relationship better. So yeah, I would say that.
Can I jump in and just kind
Anybody
of
else?
say this? Let me jump in real quick. I would love to hear everybody speak to that, only because I think that in a very real way, one of the challenges of being a preacher's kid or a PK is the fact that our own relationship with God, and I promise you, my niece hit it on the head. Our relationship with God gets tested when we no longer can depend upon our parents to carry our weight. And when we have to all of a sudden kind of start making life decisions.
Wow.
And then I can remember Alexis making that decision to walk through that pregnancy, right? And have Zai. And I can remember Deja making that decision to go to Savannah State, and watching them, and even Claude, who I consider my son. I can remember, when he started to branch out, and he was wrestling with that decision to go pastor. And I'll never forget, he's sitting in my office and he literally said to me, if you tell me don't go, I'm not going to go. And I knew that as much as I wanted him to stay with me, that if he stays with me, he suffocates. So I think it's amazing to hear what you said, Jay, because I agree with you. I think that there's a courage, LJ, that comes with the decision to go and live out your own life. And one of the reasons I wanted to do this tonight was I really wanted you guys to kind of help people understand your unique journey, because your journey is different. It just is. It doesn't mean it's better or worse, but
Right.
I mean, LJ trying to act like ain't nobody know his daddy at Bethune-Cookman. Negro, they just didn't tell you. Okay. They didn't tell you. Please don't live in the illusion that you, with a name like Lee Offord, I don't know, but 2 Black people named Lee Offord, and I love them both, right? So I think a lot of times you guys live with an unusual responsibility. So I would love to hear, Sharice, all of them kind of take a moment and chime in on that, because I think Sharice, that's a great question that you ask. I think that's a great question.
So for me, I definitely found it started to really, because I've always had a relationship or thought I had a relationship, especially because as I didn't really actually realize that I didn't have my own relationship with Christ, because first as PK, the guest preacher always come in, always call the pastor's kids to the front, always get the prayers and the prophecy. So I thought because of those moments, I had a relationship, like a real relationship, because I would hear from God in those moments. But outside of those moments where I was kind of confused and didn't really consistently read the Bible or really even take the time to really have built that relationship. And so for me, it was like, Daddy, what you just said, when I had to make the decision of having Zai or not having Zai, because that was a choice. And I couldn't make that decision because literally I couldn't make that decision without building my own relationship with God. That's when I really realized, because I was like, okay, God, I got to be able to hear from you, because I don't know what I'm doing. So it was like when the freedom and the pressure kind of came crashing down on me all at once, and that freedom that we just talked about going, especially from most PKs, it happened when you go off to college or when you move state out of town or whatever, and the decisions from all of that freedom just came crashing down on me. Then the only thing I had was what I always had inside of me, because even when I wasn't physically going to the building and I didn't feel like getting up to go to church in Daytona, still getting on and watching. So it was weird, because I felt like because I was doing the church stuff that I was used to doing, I had my own relationship. But it wasn't until I had to make a tough decision and try to figure out if that's right, that's wrong, and that pressure came crashing down, then I realized I had my own relationship. And the first time I actually heard God's voice was when I was pregnant with Zion, and I started to really build that relationship, and I was like, oh wait, I ain't never heard this before. So that's kind of what it was for me. Just the pressure of trying to figure life out. And it doesn't always have to be like that, where God got to send something to force you to bring and bridge that relationship. But that's really what it was for me.
I would probably piggyback on that. Bishop, you gave me an assignment, so I can't help but be myself, right? So I like quotes. Quotes help things make sense for me. I remember a lot of quotes, and so I would probably wrap everything in this quote. I learned about him when I was on my way up, but I got to know him when I was on my way down. And for me, I learned him in Sunday school. I learned him. I'm a boy preacher. I gave my life to Jesus Christ at 6, accepted my call to preach at 8, was licensed to preach at 10. So all my life has pretty much been for the most part in church, and in ministry in a sense. And it wasn't until I got to college to where I did not just where I had to know him on my way down. And I say that to say in college, I went through a traumatic experience where I was arrested in college, and it was like a humongous Cookman fiasco, and whole lot of misconceptions, whole lot of stuff. I had to trust not Sunday school, but I had to trust the Savior. And that's when I could say I genuinely developed an authentic relationship with Jesus Christ outside of the outside of what I knew ministry to be, and what in some aspects I was mimicking. It wasn't until that moment in college to where I could truly say I learned about him on my way up. I got to know him on my way down. And it was when it was those moments to where all I had was God, my family, to strengthen me, to encourage me when depression wanted to kill me. All I had was the voice of God to clearly say in his word that you will live and not die, but you'll declare the works of the Lord, that your ministry is not over, your life isn't over, that your life hasn't even begun yet, that he begun the good work in you will be faithful to the end. And so that's when I had to activate the power of those scriptures instead of just committing them to memory. And so I would say that's when I really knew. I knew I was called. I knew I was set apart a long while ago. But it was when I went through that experience to where I knew that God had his hand on me.
Wow.
Well, that's I don't know how you follow that up. That's good. I see why you wearing them 3-piece suits, brother. I see why you wearing them. Since 10. I said I was gonna mention that. I said I was gonna mention. But for me, it came when my great grandmother passed. In 2013. I experienced depression like I had never experienced before. Why? Because the morning, which was a Sunday morning, that I got the call that my great grandmother had passed, I was intoxicated.
Wow.
When I woke up, my parents were on the way to church to tell me that my great grandmother passed. And I told my father this too. And I was intoxicated. Intoxicated to the point where I didn't even believe it. I went to sleep and woke up. And all I started doing was crying. And so after that, I had found out people were coming to my door, knocking on my door, people driving to Daytona, making sure I'm good. And I went right back to sleep. And that same distance, I'm sleeping, all this during the time that my parents are in church. I go to sleep because I'm like, something is not real. And all I envision is, all I see actually in this dream that I had is somebody or a demon actually on my back, and it's caving my back in. And the only thing I could yell was Jesus. That's the only thing I could yell was Jesus. I yelled it so loud that even when I went out of my apartment and walked down the stairs, the people living below me were like, "Man, you was having a good time in church, weren't you?" I said, "Man, I wasn't in church. I was experiencing something, an out-of-body experience I had never experienced before." It was after that moment I sat and I had to reevaluate my own life from what my great grandmother had even taught me. It was passed down to my parents, so my father, and what my grandfather had taught my mother, and my grandmother taught my mother, and get into these books my mother had gave me. So even though I wanted to learn about God and hear from God for myself, I had to go back to what I was even taught from my early days, sitting in the bathroom with my mom and my daddy, listening to Bible stories and things. And I had to learn from the bottom and grow to the top. Not even the top. I don't know everything, but I had to learn from that because I was lost. I was depressed in a way that I had never experienced before because you're struggling and stuff like that. And when I finally was released from that, it felt good. It felt really good because at that point depressed. And I hope, I realized after I got out of school how serious mental health is, because you go into wanting to take your own life, just because you're not ready for what life really brings you. And so that was something that really took me and really had to get me to deep dive into my word, because I didn't know where to go, because the matriarch of our family had left. And what did I do after that? It killed me. So it was in 2013. I was 21, and that's when it took 20. I'm sorry. That's when I really got into the word for myself.
Wow. I want to do this, Deja. We want you to share, and then we have another guest that we're going to bring on in just a moment. So Deja, why don't you share your thoughts about that?
Okay, so initially I would say college, my freshman year. But honestly, the reason why I didn't, jump to answer, because I want to make sure that I answered correctly. So of course, when you're going into your freshman year of college, there are all types of things that's kind of coming at you, and you really, try to get your relationship with God in order. And especially since I wasn't active in a church in Savannah, I was just kind of watching, via streaming. But thinking about it, it wasn't when I was free when I built my relationship with God and was really invested in it. It was more so when I was alone. So I would say in this season of very transparent moment, I did not deal with not going back to school well personally. I kind of masked it just for the sake of the well-being of my family. I didn't want to cause any conflict, but upstairs in this room, I had night after night where I'm just like, God, why am I not in Savannah right now? So it really did take that to kind of bring out a side of me where it was plenty of nights where I literally laid on my floor crying out to God, help me through this, because I felt myself going into a dark hole because I wasn't where my friends are. And being 20, I definitely think that I have more room to grow with God, but as far as my relationship with him, it has definitely been tested and strengthened during this time of quarantine. And thinking about it, it was all for a reason, of course, for the safety of myself and the safety of my family. But being in this room alone and just kind of not with the distractions of college and not with the distractions of friends and parties and outings, it was in this time where I really prayed a lot more, read my Bible a lot more, cried out a lot more, that it wouldn't have happened in Savannah. So I'll definitely say in this time of just kind of self-quarantining in the house and all of that, I'll definitely, strengthen my relationship with God.
Listen, man, let me tell y'all something. The comments are crazy, and I want to thank you all for your transparency, because that's a part of what, truthfully, when I was your age and my dad was the pastor, niece, there was no honesty like this. Alexis, Clark, I couldn't have said, LJ, in any forum that I was dealing with what you guys were dealing with. Because when I went away to Virginia Tech, oh Lord, Jesus, my mama would call me speaking in tongues because she knew I had lost my mind the night before. You talking about intoxicated? Well, I don't know about that. Oh, my mama going to heaven, she can't know that. So, but I'm telling you, it was, so I get it, and I thank you. Listen, I tried to get this dude on earlier, and so he finally jumped in. Jay, you may know him. Chandler, come on in, man. Come on in. Bring him on in. Chandler, what's up, man? Unmute, dude.
Hey, y'all just having such beautiful dialogue. Jesus.
If he doesn't sound like Brian Boy when he said that.
So beautiful.
Taylor, jump in, man. When did you have that encounter or that season, man, where you really just kind of sold out, man, to who you are right now and what you're becoming, man? When did that hit for you?
I think mine has been a series of encounters. I don't think this is like, as much as we preach it and talk and kind of hype it up. I don't think this journey, especially as PK, someone who sees the kitchen of the church, uh, I don't think it's more so an event than it is a journey, and than it is a daily rededication, rethink. So I think there have been moments where I'm like, oh, Jesus is trying to get my attention, or I need to pause. One of those first moments was when I found out about my son Deuce. I was like, okay, there's some underlying stuff that needs to be addressed, that from childhood that hasn't been addressed, from uh, adulthood that hasn't been addressed, that needs to be addressed now. So I think there are events that God definitely uses to pause us. But I think if we focus on events more than we do the journey, I think we'll be always looking for an event and miss out on the day-to-day journey. I think the good thing, the point in Our Father's Prayer, give us this day our daily bread, is that it's the idea that this is a day-by-day thing, that there's bread and manna for today that you may not have had in that encounter or radical experience with God. So I think day by day is how I've taken it, and I think we grow or die every day. I don't think there's any maintaining in God. Like, you don't maintain, like you don't just stay on the same level. Either day by day you're growing, or day by day you're dying. So I take it day by day is my
Got you. We have a question from a Pastor Jametta Chandler Moore. She has a question for you guys. Sharice, why don't you go ahead and read the question? You see it? You got it? Okay, I think you're muted, man. I can read it real quick. Okay, you guys ready? If you are, as mostly grown kids of preachers, could construct a perfect church, what would it look like based on your perspective and experience as the kid of a preacher? If you could design a church, what would a church look like in your own mind? Oh, I can't wait to hear this.
Oh, I'll go. Well, number one, we would not wear vestments. We would dress down.
That's at my wife's church now.
That's the first thing.
Now we still gonna wear a vestment now every now and then. First Sunday.
We will be dressed down from 1st to 5th. Amen.
First Sunday. Let me have first Sunday.
1st to 5th, we're very much.
Yeah, I don't like this church.
No, but a perfect church, I would say, because LJ really said something earlier that was really, really true, because I could say the same thing about St. Paul. It wasn't so much like when I had my moment. It wasn't so, well, not just, but when I've had one of my moments, because I mean, I've had it, but it wasn't the people in the church, it was the people outside of the church. And so I would definitely say like that love and that non-judgmental, like,
let the kids be the kids.
Yeah,
like,
because it's, I mean, even though most of us, I think all of us on here really have experience, like, you know, our church really looked out for us, but in some churches and in some places, they don't really, you know, they be the ones that, you know, your daddy go to their house and pray for them, and the ones that in the hospital that your parents got to get up in the middle of the night and go lay hands on. Those be the ones that'll get you to talk about you the most. And so, like, and if in a perfect church, just no judgment at all, and just like extreme trust to the point of I don't have to like wonder you good, you not good. I don't have to wonder, like, are you just getting cool with me because of who my daddy is, or is it a situation where you're actually like down for me? Those types of things, which I mean, of course, anywhere where you go in life, that's that's what's gonna happen, regardless. It's not just church. And I hate when people trying to make it seem like it's just the church people.
Yeah.
It's not just church. People do that at your job. If it was like the perfect church for me, it would be dressed down, and it would just be extremely like non-judgmental, extremely trustworthy, and like extreme raw transparency wouldn't be a thing where, like, in church everybody's like, wow, I so appreciate that transparency, and then when they leave, it's like, did you hear what they just said? Da, da, da. So it's a place where like you could be transparent as
Hits the internet.
like to the extreme of like, let me tell you about yesterday, because I'm just like, I'm an over the top transparent person, but like my perfect church, which of course there's no perfect church, but that would just be mine.
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I mean, I think it's just letting the child of the preacher just be a child and go through the process of life, and however, and allow them to be, like one of the things we made very clear, even to Zion and Thirdum, even young Trey, even as like how old is Trey? A year. It's no pressure on them to be anything other than who they are. You ain't got to be, there's no pressure to be anything, but a child. We're not gonna be standing them up different places. Just kind of putting the pressure on them to fulfill a moment or a desire that, if it's God's will come to pass, whether we have anything to do with it or not. So I think it's the no judgment, as my wife would say, and then also just letting them be who they are, and enjoy them in the process of them discovering who they are.
Wow.
Perfect church. Honestly, this has nothing to do with me. I think that as I'm now grown and able to comprehend some things, in a perfect church, every member or person who claims they're a member would understand the burden that our parents carry leading a church. It wasn't until I got older that I saw, was able to see so many things that they actually do. And now that we are quarantined and in this pandemic, we do so much that we see will not go appreciated. Not saying that they have to appreciate it, because what we're doing is for the glory of God. However, we see that our parents, give so much every day, every week, and nobody really understands the pressure that they have on them. And I think that's something that only we see, in the household, or, driving the cars, and, you have conversations, and nobody really sees the weight that they carry. And if people really understood how quickly, there's pastors, quitting and going through depression and things of that nature. And if people really saw what our parents go through on a daily basis, just even, we talk about us dealing with people, they got to deal with people. On another level, so I think if people really saw and even tried to understand the burden that they carry, just even being called by God to shepherd people, man, the appreciation would show so much greater than even us. And I tell anybody right now, listen, you say a word about Leofric or Sandy, and you're gonna have a problem, because at the end of the day, they don't need nothing else on their plate. And if I can handle it, guess what? I'm handling it. before I even get to them, because I see what they carry already, and they don't need the foolishness. You know, they're here to do one thing, and that's bring people to Christ and to glorify God. And I just wish people understood that and appreciated it more. And it would do so much more for discipleship in the church. You know, we wouldn't have to call and pull on people so much for simple things. You know, and that's pretty much me. That's just me. I just wish our members, the people who pack out our Sunday worship centers every week, would understand, hey, this is the burden my bishop carries. How can I help carry this burden? And Bishop, you came to Open Arms on a pastor's appreciation one year and talked about how, you know, they held Moses' arms up during the battle. That's what we should be doing every week, every day, figuring out how we can hold up our bishop's arms during the battle while the fight is going on. And it hurts me to my heart to see my dad push so much to give so little back, get so little back. Man, that's a perfect church to me. That everybody holds up the man of God's arms when at all times, because he needs it. So that's me.
Wow. Wow.
That's good stuff, man.
Wow.
Okay. It's interesting. Deja, why don't you, out of this season, speak to that? And I definitely want to hear from the more kids. You know, the more kids. I love it. I love it. I got all of them tonight. All right. Deja, in this season, Deja was my executive assistant for a week. She was my executive assistant for a week. Deja, speak to your week as my executive assistant.
In that week, I definitely saw like everything, all the demands that are just on your life, period. It's like being that, we're not in the church, you don't really have a real office, you have a chair. So I just never, before that week, I never really noticed how much you do in that chair. Like that's really your office chair in the house. And so much, so many phone calls, so many connections. Like you work all day, literally. And I definitely didn't see that until my week being your executive assistant. I worked hard that week.
And I owe you a check. I you gotta give me a couple of weeks though, because I gotta wait till this other check clear. I'm waiting on this check from Chandler and them, and then when I get paid, then I'm gonna go ahead and pay you. More kids. Your dad and mom, they pastor two churches, two different states. Jesus. And now Chandler, you doing your thing, and my nieces, you guys are how your journey, your unique journey. Because your mom asked the question. So I'm assuming she wants to hear your answers. So what would that church look like for you?
Okay. I guess I'll go. I guess without all the fluff, it's so much I could say, but I think that a lot of times, and my brother made a post about it one day, matter of fact, just about how your pastor's not your father. Like, there's certain demands that we put on our leaders that is not their job. Like some stuff is for your counselor. Like some stuff is for, I don't know, go to your family and get a ticket. I don't know. But it's just so much so much extra fluff that like people expect out of like leadership or the church that just, I don't know, has completely turned me off. So I try to I really do try to like stay away um from like the executive assistant. I could never do that. But I guess I just see like the perfect church just being about love and genuinely truthfully about God. And what God is and who he is, like who he really is, and not this God that we make, you know, like this social media God. Like I don't know. Like I guess I just see the perfect church of being like real genuine love, being about God's love. Because I mean, I guess that's really what it's all about.
It's good.
Yes.
Wow.
To just piggyback on what she said, I think in totality, I think the perfect church is Jesus actually being Lord of the church. I think this reflects everything that we said. I think when people actually have a relationship and people actually depend on Jesus for certain things, I think there are certain pressures, there are certain expectations, there are certain needs, there are certain psychological concepts that you just would not form in the presence of a man, or expectations that you have on a man. There are certain things, even me being 25 now and me having the made a relationship with my father, that I just don't expect of my father, uh, even as his son, because I know his capacity. So I think a lot of times we place our brokenness on man instead of just directly giving it to God, and it was the lack of relationship. So perfect church is people really knowing the Lord that they should think they know.
Sharice, what else do we want to ask them before we let them go? Because this is like,
Before we
do,
wrap
do you
up,
understand how legendary this is? This is like epic. To have all of y'all up here is like epic. It's
wow.
like a major kingdom shift, and all of them in their own way is shifting the kingdom in their own way. They're shifting the kingdom.
Wow.
Sharice, what else? What else do we? Yeah. What are you thinking?
Ooh, Sharice done left us.
That thing got good to it. She had to go. That boy's stupid.
The Holy Ghost hit.
What tell you? You guys tell me this. What is it that you believe? What is your motivation to go after your unique dream now? When you think of, I mean, when I look at all of you, I see all of you kind of going after something. What is it that is driving you to go after your own dream, and in managing the responsibility that your parents as pastors have carried, and you're now kind of carving out your own unique niche? What is it that motivates you to to go after your own dream, your own desire? And she's back. The Holy Ghost hit her, and she returned.
Yeah, I'm back.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on. Like the broadcast keep throwing me out, but every time I get a chance to chime in, so I'm gonna say this really quick because I hear you all talk about the title, but at some point you had to embrace being a PK. Like, when did you just say, okay, I'm just gonna embrace the title? Because I know at some point someone would say it, you would probably cringe. But now I hear you all talk about walking it out. So, like, when did you just say, you know what, I'm going to embrace this PK title?
That's good. That's a good
Well,
question.
I don't know. I don't know because I really don't like the whole PK thing. Like preacher's kid. Like honestly, truthfully, I only did this for my uncle because I don't really like the PK talk because I think that's where it gets so weird. Like, when did this become like this whole PK? Like, I don't know. It's gotten really weird. So I wouldn't put that label or that stamp on it, or like, when did I become okay with being a PK? No, I'm human. Like, and my father just happens to be a pastor. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? So
it separates and stigmatizes the issue even more. Like it's almost like, well,
yeah,
no, far left. It's like we want to say we're normal kids, but we want to label ourselves as something superior. And it's just like, hey, nah, like I'm just a regular person. My dad's occupation and calling just has to be something that may be different than your parents. But just because I'm a PK don't like put you in a category of non-PK. No, you're just a regular person, and so am I. So I think we can't have our cake and eat it too. I think a lot of us try to do that. We want the benefits that come with it. We want to walk in church late and come run on the front row and be up under our Father and be a distraction, but we don't want to be called out when we're wrong and accept the standard and responsibility of that call. Because the thing is, your dad's not just called, you're called. When God calls a man, he don't just call a man, he calls a family. So we can't have our cake and eat it too. Either you're going to be a regular person and chill out and not try to take advantage of opportunities of closeness, or you're going to accept the call and be responsible and live a life that's worthy of not just your calling, but your Father's calling.
Let me say something, Chandler, that I think is really amazing about what you just said, really about what both of you just said. Here's what's amazing about you guys. And Sharice said it at the beginning. You all are uniquely called to this. Like Brian and Jametta Moore had two amazing kids, and you two are uniquely called to this. Alexis, Deja, and Taylor are our children, and they are uniquely called to this. LJ and Christian are uniquely called. I mean, Claude, he is uniquely called. You guys are uniquely called to something. And it's interesting. I went through years even after I started pastoring of trying to reject what it meant to be my father's son. Because I didn't always want to be labeled that. Because, my dad wasn't the known guy. So when I went to Virginia Tech, nobody really did know my dad. And I had more fun than is legally allowed. That's why I'm hoping they burn all those pictures from the 1980s, right? Yes, I know, the 80s. I can't believe it. But it's interesting that, to piggyback on Sharice's question, do you even today still feel the burden, or do you feel somewhere of a burden to live out not your parents' anointing and your parents' assignment, but your unique assignment in light of who you've been raised to be? Do you ever feel that burden or that weight or that responsibility?
Well, I want to speak to the first question first, and I'm going to say I've always embraced being a PK because my father's, following has always just embraced me as just being me. I've never had to feel no other type of way. I've gotten in trouble like everybody else. I've done things like everybody else, and I've always just been able to be me. So I've never had to feel, like, oh, I have to distinguish this from that. No, I've always embraced being the PK, and people will tell you now, if you have something at the church and food's involved, I'll go fix my own plate. You don't have to bring me my plate unless you're just really pushing it. I'm not gonna say no, but I go get my own plate, get my own stuff, do my own thing. I do things myself because I don't want nobody to feel like, oh, LJ's entitled.
That's good.
That's not it. Because although we're called to this position, I don't sit on no pedestal. You know what I'm saying? And I'm the friend that say, oh, my friend's still outside and food out here. Hey, y'all want to come get a plate? That's me. I'm trying to make sure everybody eat. I'm that type of kid. I was that type of kid, and my church family embraced me the same way. So the answer to that, I've always embraced being a PK because my church family embraced me for being a regular child. So PK was, like I said, something that the outside call me, not nobody inside. Inside, LJ. It's LJ. That's LJ. That's what he do. He do that. And but as far as now feeling the burden, like I spoke to it on the last question I answered. Man, my burden is more so for my parents, more so than me. I want my parents to live long. I want my father to live long, and that's the closest things to me at this moment. Not trying to carry their burden, but trying to help them the best way I can as a PK is what I feel I'm called to do in this moment. Not trying to be them. Everybody say, "Oh, LJ, you'll be the next pastor." No, I'm not. I don't believe that. God ain't spoke that to me yet. But while I'm
Lift your
here,
hands, LJ. Lift your hands. Lift your hands.
but while I'm here, I'm going to help my father carry out what he was called to do the best way I know how to. So my burden is not for me, but it's from it. Not the weight I feel is not for me, but for my father, and praying that he lives long and he does what God has called him to do to the fullest that he's capable.
Yeah, I think the burden that I feel isn't his calling more than it is his legacy. I think callings can't be shared, but I think legacy is something that should be passed on. So more than trying to fill his shoes, I'm trying to carry his name, if that makes sense. So when I think about what God has called me to do, though it may not look the same or though it may not have the same end result, it still is me carrying a name that was given to me, and a stamp of approval from my dad, and a years and years of investment of wisdom, of love, of protection. Um, so yeah, I think that burden of carrying legacy and making sure I'm not wasting uh, what he poured out.
That's
I
big.
totally agree. Ever since, really, it's more so been ever since like my grandmother passed. I've been having my own children and us having our own family. Like the whole generational transfer has just been a huge thing for me. And so, for me, it's been because my parents always say that they want to see their kids go beyond what they didn't get to do, and they went beyond. It's just interesting to see because like parents have there was a level that my grandparents went to, that their parents didn't go to, and then there's now a level where I'm watching my parents and my aunts and my uncles, and they've gone to a level where my grandparents never really got to. Like I love seeing my granddad, like he's ecstatic. He loves seeing his sons preach because he always says, I never got to the big stage, but I get to go see my boys. And so for me, and especially now that like we have created our own and have our own family, it's taking it to the next level. So like the things that I have so much of all of my parents in me. It's like this weird combination. So like the things that, my dad and my stepmom don't get to do, or the things that my mom don't get to do, I'm excited about the opportunity to get to take their dreams, and not their specific dreams, but for some reason it's kind of in the same pal. So taking they didn't get to do, or what they didn't get the opportunity to do, or what they just couldn't do because they old now. Okay, that taking it to the next level. So that legacy is so that's so big for me, because I also, as a mom, and as a dad, we want our kids to look at us and to look at their grandparents and say, okay, my grandparents did this, my parents took it to another level, so now what am I going to do next? Burden has just become, it's been put in so much perspective, because I always would get the word of, you carry what your grandma have, and you carry what your daddy and your mama, and you carry that, and da-da. And I never understood what that meant, but it just means that I'm one of the ones responsible for taking it another level. And to take it even a step further, I push my sisters, because the things that I thought about, I can't even say I thought about in my years, like Deja being an entrepreneur is huge for me, because I didn't have that mindset at that age. So I want everybody behind me to go as far and further than I could even possibly even imagine. So just really, it for me, it's all these levels of greatness that I just want to see just go higher and higher and higher, and not that, well, my dad was great, but his child, and yeah, they was all right, but they got caught up in some mess, so they was all right, but I mean, they stopped at, no, my dad has a doctorate, so I'm not trying to get no doctorate.
Speak,
but
speak, woman of God, speak.
Speak. go ahead.
Receive.
But the standard was set, so it's that calling, that burden, that my mom has a crazy level of creativity. So I that crazy creativity. So it's just seeing all of this legacy, all of this anointing, all of this ability that you can't help but to continue to move it forward, because God wouldn't give you these amazing parents and make you average. You know, as you all said, we were all crafted and gifted and handpicked and chosen by God for. So unfortunately, we didn't get to get away with certain things because we're not average. So that's just like a whole nother, just seeing these different generations of greatness in their times. And I'm just excited to keep that moving, and for my kids and my younger siblings to keep it moving even further.
Let me ask one final question, and then we're gonna go. And I'm gonna ask everybody to share this question, and then I'm gonna have my amazing co-host, because we are creating something called NightCap. Hey, Chandler, I need you to Chandler. Are you listening? I mean, I know you do $1 million deals on your iPhone, but Chandler, listen to me. I know Drake. That's my dude. No, that's called Lil Wayne. He my first cousin. I want to tell my kids that Lil Wayne is in our family, and so well. Okay, I lied. So Chandler, I need you to write an intro song for NightCap. All right, that's your job. I'm not going to pay you, and I want it by next Monday. Okay, because I'm your uncle, I'm not paying you. Okay, thank you, appreciate you. God bless you. Your mom said yes. She didn't say yes yet, but she's going to. All right, and for all the stuff that your dad not do for each other, yes. Okay, so. First of all, I want to thank all of you for doing this. So we're going to give y'all a hand. Everybody that's in the chat, give them a great big hand. Woo, yay. All right. Chandler, thank you for jumping on, man. It was cool to have you. I mean, your sister was carrying the weight, though. She was carrying the weight. And all that, and all that she talking, she is saved, sanctified, and filled with the precious Holy Ghost. Now don't let it fool you. That thing know the Lord a little bit. She know the Lord a little bit. I done seen her. I done seen her. She know the Lord a little bit. I'm gonna ask all of you one final question, and I want you to take a moment and think about it. What do you believe is the greatest lesson you can share with your generation? What is the one thing, if you had a chance? I mean, because like right now, Louisville, Kentucky is slam gone crazy, right? Slam gone crazy. We're about to hit a crazy protest, and I think next week, Sharice, we need to at least try to tackle some of that stuff. You think? You know, as my co-host, and I'm your co-host. What is the one thing, if you could share one thing with your generation out of your life, and I want to start with the youngest. Because you know, my Deja, as Alexis said, we are super duper proud of our soon to be millionaire, and I can't wait, because when she becomes a millionaire, something amazing gonna happen. You know what it is, LJ? Retirement. Retirement. I'm gonna join open arms and come late every time. I'm gonna come right after offering, and I'm gonna sit in the back. Now, if offering is after the sermon, that means I'm gonna miss church, but I'm gonna come like right after offering, right? And then I'm just gonna follow Chandler around and just sing and just play the tambourine. Can I be in the band? Play tambourine? No? Okay. All right. I'm getting major rejection tonight from people I love. So, what is the lesson though you would teach your generation if you had all of your generation sitting at your feet? What's the one lesson that you would share with them? What's the one thing out of your unique experience that you would share with your generation? Okay, we're gonna give y'all 10 seconds. Right, then we're gonna start with Deja, and then we're gonna go to whoever's next. Okay, and then our amazing co-host is gonna close us out. All right, she's been in and out tonight, so we're gonna have to work on. We got to work on this thing because she's really amazing. Her story is incredible. That's why we do this. Sharice's story is like stupid, incredible, amazing, and I'm honored. I'm honored that she leads our young adults. Deja, go ahead. Everybody in the world is listening to Deja. Deja Guns. What you gonna tell them?
Okay. I kind of have like two lessons, or like one and a half.
Okay.
The first one is God orchestrates everything for a reason. I'm really, really big on that. It's been plenty of times in life where it's been you never you're not supposed to question God, but it's always just been that like why, but it always comes together for our good. So that's definitely one of them. And for this is kind of for like my like church going millennial people, because I personally don't. That's why I didn't really say too much tonight, because I don't think, although PKs are kind of in the spotlight, it's kind of the same for everybody in the church. People talk about each other in the church, like that's just that's just something that happens in the church. So I think a lesson that I've learned is to kind of follow my heart, and as long as God is okay, I'm okay. Don't worry about anybody else and how they feel about what you're doing with your life, as long as you're okay with God. A lot of people probably and told me the same thing, oh, you're supposed to be following your dad's footsteps. When you gonna start preaching? That's not what God told me. And we talk, we good. I know what I'm supposed to be doing with my life. So that's a big lesson that I've kind of learned. Just kind of stay grounded in God and don't let the opinions of other people kind of turmoil how you feel about yourself and how you feel about where you're going with your life. So those are my lessons.
Cool.
I guess I'm the second youngest.
Yes.
I guess my biggest two things is number one, pulling in history with God. That's super big for me. Especially during days like this. I don't really have to be completely transparent and honest. I text my family today. I'm like, do what makes you happy. I don't know when this world is ended, but what really has helped me is just pulling on my history with him. And also the second thing is perspective. I always, especially with this season and even in the last season, perspective has honestly shifted so many things in my life. Like everything, most of the times it's not against you, it's for you. So looking at situations from a different perspective, I would say that.
That's awesome. And you know what? The word perspective has become like the most important word for me in this season. That's really good. Yeah. Deja, I'm so super proud of you. I'm so super proud of you. Okay. LJ, Alexis, Clark, Chandler. In whatever order.
I think Alexis is the oldest, and I'm like the second oldest. So we're gonna keep going in old order.
Can you re-ask the question?
Re-ask the question.
Yeah.
All of the millennials are sitting at your feet. What are the lesson or two? Because the first two gave us two lessons, which is cool. What are the two lessons that you would share with all of the millennials, all the young adults in the world? You had a chance to kind of deposit and pour into them. What are the two lessons that you would share? What are the two things you think are important for them to know and understand? What would you share?
First one would be don't make your lifelong mission to make it to last. I think a lot of our generation is always just trying to make the moment or trying to just make it for today and forgetting about legacy. So I think instead of waiting for the right person to post your video or the right person to hear your song or the right person to bring you on their page or their platform, think about the long haul. Think about what your kids are going to need, what your kids' kids. I think this generation has the opportunity to set up our legacy in a way that has never been. So don't strive to make it, strive to last. Number two would be love Jesus and read your Bible. A lot of illiterate Christians out here. Read your Bible, study it. Study it. Jesus.
He said that so frustrated. I'm going to read my Bible as soon as this is over with. You have made me want to go read my Bible. Just read your bio. Okay. All right. So I guess Alexis, since your brother called you out with that Alpha shirt on, how dare you do that? But anyway, Alexis, and then I guess Claude, and then we'll close with LJ.
All right, so Chandler, I actually took mine. I was gonna say, fall in love with Jesus. Very simple. Get to know Jesus. It's too much going on. Like, I'm literally scrolling past these people flooding the streets in New York right now. It's absolutely chaotic. Depression is at an all-time high. Suicide is at an all-time high, and a lot of our generation is into the universe. No, Jesus, not the universe, not Venus and the stars and all of that. Fall in love with Jesus. That is the only thing that's going to sustain anybody. It doesn't matter who you are, what title you have, because this is big enough to drive us crazy. But genuinely getting to know Jesus for who he actually is and all that he is. He's things. That's just simply the lesson that I would really drop. Don't get to know your denomination, don't get to know your church, your fellowship, the convention, don't get to know your organizations, don't get to know Jesus, because that's all we really have as individuals. With people dropping dead, you don't know when your mama gonna die, your dad gonna. It's too much. So just really fall in love with Jesus and figure out who he is for you. That was mine.
Yeah. I would definitely say fall in love with Jesus. But I guess I would angle it this way. I played sports in high school. Really good at it, but other than just one particular one that come out golfing with me. I'll put you to sleep. But I do remember my golf instructor. His name was Dr. Thomas Dorsey, and I'll never forget it when I was learning to play golf. He would always say, he would say, Cheatham, learn to make the uncomfortable comfortable. Make the uncomfortable comfortable. And if I were to a room full of generation, I would say learn to make the uncomfortable comfortable. Commit yourself to being uncomfortable for your growth. Understand that every decision can't rest in comfort, because if it's just to make you comfortable, then you'll never go beyond the status quo. Learn to make the uncomfortable comfortable. I think I would probably go on to say, outside of I do the very best you can to do the very best you can. And when I say that, give it your best. Don't be great at church, but horrible at business. Don't be great at just business and horrible with your relationship with God. Don't just be great with business, but have a horrible attitude. Allow the uncomfortable to don't allow the comfort to make you comfortable. And then I would probably go on to say, be the best you can be.
Okay. LJ?
Man, first, I just want to say thank you all for this opportunity. This was absolutely amazing to be a part of this. And I know this is going to carry on into a great conversation, and it may need to be a part two. I don't know. I'm not the co-host. I'm just saying. But we need to get our ratchet cousins in here for real. But for 2020 has been such a unique year, and I think it has opened my mind up to a lot, even with me working with students every week. Um, I believe that the first thing I would say is, like everybody has said, get to know Jesus. Speaking with my father a lot, he said that this pandemic really was allowed to bring people back to Jesus. What the devil thought he meant for evil was actually meant for good, because on Sundays, on Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, whatever, you're going to see somebody preaching on Facebook. You're going to hear the word of God going forth. So what's being heard needs to be learned for yourself. So I believe that everybody in this moment in time needs to get to know Jesus, like everybody else has said. However, just for me to just speak, as transparent as possible to people, I would want people just to live, love, and be happy. I'm even in a season now where I am not, you know, I'm not settling for forced things. I want to be genuinely happy, because I don't ever want to leave this earth when I was faking and flogging, with myself. I was playing myself. I want to literally leave this world knowing that I was happy, not only with myself, but with the people around me, with the people who claim they love me, with the people that I love. I want to be intentional. I want to be able to live. I want to be able to laugh. I want to be able to love as genuine as I can. If this year has taught me anything, it's to live and to love and to genuinely be happy with everything that I do moving forward.
Wow. First of all, I want to say thank you. You guys have been amazing. And yes, we're going to do this again. Same group. Um, Same group, definitely. Um, I want to greet the mothers, Lady Sanjanique, co-pastor Jametta, and Lady Sandy. The mothers have been up here in full force, commenting and and encouraging you all. And of course, when Alexis made the old comment, they all chimed in on old. So Alexis, I want you to know that your mom we'll be calling you in just about 2 minutes when this is over with. Sharice is an amazing partner, and she's been having these technical difficulties, which we can't always control. Sharice, do you want to try to just say a closing word, and then I'll just close us out tonight?
Yes. I definitely want to say that I appreciate you guys being so transparent tonight. I know sometimes it's hard to really shed some light on how you feel, especially when the people who have influence where your life is right now are watching. So you got to kind of tell them what you say and how you say it, just to be politically correct. But my hope is that whoever is watching, that is a preacher's kid that needed to hear what you all said, that they get liberated from that as well. That they're able to walk out their truth, and then they're able to experience God for themselves. So thank you so much for participating, and thank you so much for your transparency.
Again, I want to thank you all, to my two amazing daughters, to my son, to my two nephews, and my niece. And yes, and we say that confidently. Thank you all. Thank you again, Elder Mandela and Elder Ray, for your work tonight. And Sharice and I will be back next week. We're gonna be working on our technology stuff. We're gonna be working on it, both of us, really. But we'll be back next week. I'm just so super proud of all of you. And LJ, I got an idea for you, so we can talk about it. Yeah, I got an idea for you. Yeah, I got an idea. I'm serious about this one. All right, because I'm trying to retire, man. I'm trying to give you all this stuff. Between you and Claude, I wish one of y'all just take it so I can go ahead and retire. Everybody, here's the great news. If anybody had any questions, the world is going to be in a better place, because what you've seen tonight are some of the best and the brightest. I am confident that the church and that America is going to be okay with all the chaos and confusion, even tonight. if these young people are any indication of what greatness looks like, we are going to be okay. You guys be blessed. This has been NightCap. I know I've been wanting to say that all week, Sharice. This has been NightCap, and we love you guys. We'll see you next week. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, take care.
Bye, guys.